Wait, brain dead Joe Biden wasn't running the country? What? Let's dive in. I'm Jordan Conradson, and welcome to the Gateway Pundits DC Dive. Now, for our top story, and this one's a shocker. Well, actually, it is a shocker that Trump did this. Christina Lila reports for the Gateway Pundit. Breaking, Trump terminates all documents, executive orders, and contracts signed by Biden's Autopen as null, void, and of no further force or effect. Now, this comes after Trump said last week that approximately 92% of the documents that Biden signed as president would be terminated. He also threatened Biden with perjury charges if he denies the scandal. And we know that Biden didn't know of or approve of many of the Autopen signatures because of email documents showing that it was his staff. They were running the country. These sick, mentally deranged staffers that he had running around his White House, tooting their fairy dust, doing whatever the hell it was, because they were freaks. So you saw some of his cabinet members, like that one tranny. I think his name is Rachel Levine, calls himself Rachel. So Oversight Project's Mike Howell dropped this bombshell investigation back in June after the organization Oversight Project discovered that Biden may not have actually authorized any of the documents that were signed by his Autopen. Watch.
We have another update for you. This is just uncovered by our team today. We had previously disclosed that there were two Autopen signatures, so think about like two versions of the same signature applied over and over again. But now today we've discovered a third Autopen signature type that was used on proclamations. So think of things like tariff-related or the trans day of visibility, those types of documents. So what does that mean? It could mean a couple things. There could have been multiple Autopen machines. There could have been multiple settings, which then begs the question of, did multiple people have access to it? What were the control mechanisms? And it makes this look like it was very chaotic without ample control. And so we're very excited that President Trump has, taken up and ordered his Department of Justice to launch an investigation based off our findings. Comer in the House, and then over in the Senate, there's another investigation. So it's full speed ahead, and we got a lot of useful information that we're cooperating with them on.
Now, you look at some of these actions, I like to point out Trans Day of Visibility. That was signed, I think, on like Good Friday. And it was some tranny freak, some femboy weirdo who signed that document, not Biden. It was just one of his staffers. Either just sick, twisted individual or an evil individual. That's all we have on that story. Hopefully, this actually happens. President Trump has declared it, and maybe we can see some of these horrific Biden-era policies completely reversed. Now, coming up next, Trump issued a pardon that shows he's not weaponizing the justice system against Democrats like they claim. Spoiler alert, Biden was. And welcome back. For our next top story, the Gateway Pundit's Christina Lila reports, breaking, in a stunning development, President Trump issues full and unconditional pardons to Texas Democrat Rep. Henry Cuellar. The president pardoned Cuellar and his wife, Imelda, arguing that they were only targeted because of their opposition to open borders under the Biden regime. They were both facing up to 204 years in prison. That's like 2 or 3 life sentences for charges of bribery and money laundering. Now, coincidentally, of course, the feds raided his home and fired off subpoenas to the lawmaker shortly after he called out border czar Kamala Harris and called on the Biden regime to replace her and find somebody else to solve the border crisis. She was completely ineffective and incompetent, and he called her out. It's very embarrassing. So what they did next was they raided his house. Typical. Trump announced the pardon in a message on Truth Social. He said, quote, "For years, the Biden administration weaponized the justice system against their political opponents and anyone who disagreed with them. One of the clearest examples of this was when Crooked Joe used the FBI and DOJ to, quote, take out a member of his own party after highly respected Congressman Henry Cuellar bravely spoke out against open borders. And the Biden border catastrophe. Sleepy Joe went after the congressman and even the congressman's wonderful wife, Imelda, simply for speaking the truth. Because of these facts and others, I am hereby announcing my full and unconditional pardon of beloved Texas Congressman Henry Cuellar and Imelda. Henry, I don't know you, but you can sleep well tonight. Your nightmare is finally over. And Cuellar responded to this, quote, I want to thank President Trump for his tremendous leadership and for taking the time to look at the facts. I thank God for standing with my family during this difficult time. This decision clears the air and lets us move forward for South Texas. This pardon gives us a clean slate. The noise is gone, the work remains, and I intend to meet it head on. Thank you, Mr. President. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. What a nightmare. 204 years in prison just because you said, hey, this border crisis is really causing problems for us here in South Texas, right? We've seen the videos where they were literally raiding our border and clashing with Border Patrol agents. There was a whole horde of these monsters and just dirty, disgusting aliens trying to invade our country and come mooch off our tax dollars, come commit crimes, come rape and murder women and children. That's all we have on that story. Coming up, our next story by the Gateway Pundit's founder, Jim Hoft. STEFANIK says Speaker Johnson is protecting the deep state, claims he's blocking provision to root out the illegal weaponization behind CROSSFIRE hurricane and Arctic frost, siding with RASKIN against Trump Republicans. This is just crazy. I mean, if true, it's crazy. How surprising is it, though? I mean, I've never specifically liked Mike Johnson as speaker. I thought he was, especially during the Biden years, he was pretty weak. He somehow curried favor with the president of the United States, Donald Trump. Elise Stefanik wrote on X, I just walked out of a briefing on this issue this morning, confirming everything I posted yesterday. That yes, in fact, the speaker is blocking my provision to root out the illegal weaponization that led to CROSSFIRE hurricane, Arctic frost, and more. He is siding with Jamie Raskin against Trump Republicans to block this provision to protect the deep state. This is an easy one. This bill is DOA unless this provision gets added in as it was passed out of committee. Now, the Arctic frost investigation is when the Biden DOJ went after conservatives and even Republican lawmakers, snooping through their phone records, trying to catch them up in a crime following January 6th. Mike Johnson, however, he responded on Tuesday saying that Alyssa is basically lying. Watch.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker,
yes, ma'am.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you, Mr.
Well, all of that is false. I don't exactly know why Elise won't just call me. I texted her yesterday. She's upset that one of her provisions is not being made, I think, into the NDAA. I explained to her on a text message as soon as I heard this yesterday. I was campaigning in Tennessee, and I wrote her and I said, what are you talking about? This hasn't even made it to my level. The way regular order works is, and I think she should know this, we'll be talking about it, I'm sure, today. The way this works is that it has to go through committees of jurisdiction if it will be attached to the NDAA. And this provision that she's working on, I think, is under the jurisdiction of judiciary. And so there's a four corners engagement and agreement that's required. You all know how this works. The two chairs and the two ranking members of the committees of jurisdiction, which would be judiciary in the House and Senate, all have to agree, or at least 3 out of 4 have to agree. It's typically unanimous to make sure that it makes it onto the bill. Well, in this case, I found out last night, this wasn't even on my radar, that apparently didn't happen. I haven't even talked to those chairmen. I haven't had time because I got in late last night. But apparently those 4, the 2 chairs and the 2 rankers in both chambers did not agree, and so that provision was dropped out of the NDAA. It doesn't mean it can't become law or even that is a final decision.
But Stefanik fired back, slamming Johnson and accusing him of torpedoing the Republican agenda. She said again on X, just more lies from the speaker and in true to form. The speaker texted me yesterday claiming he knew nothing about it. Yeah, right. This is his preferred tactic to tell members when he gets caught torpedoing the Republican agenda, it wasn't on your radar. This is the only provision in the bill to root out the deep state rot. This is not regular order. Regular order is a member's provision that passed out of committee should be heard on the floor and not struck down by a Democrat minority member in closed-door meeting. My provision passed out of the House Intelligence Committee, which is the committee of jurisdiction. You torpedoed this, siding with Jamie Raskin. You said you would fix it, so fix it. If this is true, Jamie Raskin is one of the most just crazy Democratic members. He's a congressman from Maryland. And quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised. I would be pretty disappointed. Coming up next, the Democrats are caught targeting pro-lifers. What's new? First, I want to say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm thrilled to announce my enthusiastic endorsement of Blackout Coffee, a company that embodies the heart of American values. This family-owned business began 7 years ago in a humble garage, and today they've earned over 32,000 five-star reviews for their premium bold coffee. Blackout Coffee isn't just about exceptional taste, they're staunch supporters of the Second Amendment, standing firm for our freedoms. Allow me to share my personal take. I've sampled their coffee. It is outstanding, it's rich, it's smooth, and it's crafted by good people who share our commitment to what makes this nation great. It's my go-to brew to fuel the day. If you're ready to support a company that delivers quality and principle, visit blackoutcoffee.com/rift and use code RIFT for 20% off your first order. That's blackoutcoffee.com/rift. Join me in choosing coffee that stands for something. Get yours today. And welcome back. As Jim Hoft reported for the Gateway Pundit, weaponization exposed. Justice Thomas corners New Jersey AG's counsel, confirms subpoena for pro-life donors issued even though no one complained. Now, during oral arguments on Wednesday in First Choice Women's Resource Centers versus Platkin, who is the Attorney General of New Jersey, Clarence Thomas exposed that the state of New Jersey was subpoenaing this faith-based pro-life organization that helps women who are pregnant over alleged donor deception. Thomas simply asked if they had a reason to think the group was deceiving donors. But the Attorney General had no complaints from donors. First Choice was completely transparent, and the AG went after them under consumer fraud laws, which do not require probable cause to snoop through their donor lists. Listen to this Supreme Court exchange between Clarence Thomas and Platkin's chief counsel, Sundeep Iyer.
Did you have complaints that formed the basis of your concern about the fundraising activities here?
We certainly had complaints about crisis pregnancy centers that petition.
No, about this crisis pregnancy center.
So I think we've been clear from the outset that we haven't had complaints about this specific.
So you had no basis to think that they were deceiving any of their contributors?
I don't think that's correct, Your Honor. I think we had carefully canvassed all of the public information that is provided on the website of First Choice in making a determination that we wanted to initiate an investigation.
But you had no factual basis?
I don't think that's true, Your Honor. I think, for example, you could take a look at a comparison between the donation page for First Choice that we have carved out from the very beginning.
So you had no complainants?
We had no complaints, but the state governments, federal government, initiate investigations all the time in the absence of complaints where they have a reason to suspect that there could be potential issues of legal compliance. And look, it could be the case based on our investigation, when we look at documents, when we look at information, that ultimately will determine that First Choice isn't liable for any violation of the law.
Well, that just seemed to be a burdensome way to find out whether someone has a confusing website. But you said earlier that you did not agree with their characterization of why they were being put to this. And it would seem that the obvious way to refute that was to say we had 100 complaints. But you say you have no complaints, but rather you looked at the website and their materials and you think it could have been misleading. So why is your characterization any better than theirs?
So, Your Honor, I'd point you to the Turner Declaration, which is at pages 400 to 401 of the joint appendix, which lays out the predicate for the state's investigation of first choice. And we had concerns in 4 buckets. We had concerns about potentially misleading donors. We had concerns about the unlicensed practice of medicine. We had concerns about patient privacy practices. And we had concerns about potentially misleading or untrue medical statements. So I think we had a more than ample basis to initiate this
But you
investigation.
had no complainants.
We had no complaints, but I think that, Your Honor, that goes at most to the merits. That doesn't go to the standing analysis.
So they really had no reason to go after this crisis pregnancy center, but the intent here is clear. You know, these people who complain and freak out like, oh, single mothers, pregnant women who don't want their kids, they just need to get an abortion. That's why we have Planned Parenthood, which doesn't actually plan your parenthood, but this organization does. This is one of those organizations that can solve a problem in our country. Single motherhood, homes with absent parents, impoverished parents. I mean, this is a faith-based organization, which they hate, of course. So they're going to make up a crime, go after it. And another thing, they're snooping through who's donating to this organization. They're trying to figure out, okay, who else is Christian and does not support abortion? Who else can we keep a closer eye on? It's just disgusting. I mean, typical liberal Democrats going after Christian conservatives. And for our next story from Rift TV's Alicia Powell, a record 2,221 mom and pop shop bankruptcies in 2025, the highest ever. More than 2,200 businesses are filing for Chapter 5 bankruptcy as small businesses, the American dream, is pretty much just collapsing. This obviously comes amid high interest rates and continued fallout from the deep state's destruction of our country with COVID-19 back in 2020. And the effects of that are lasting. Meanwhile, Amazon, big corporations, they're doing better than ever. They are seeing record profits and they're still hiring cheap foreign illegal labor. So that's what's going on in our country as the American dream dies. The left wants to help illegal aliens, as always. That is quite frankly what we're up against. Thank you for watching. Tune in tomorrow. We'll have more big stories.